ever procrastinated before? In fact, maybe you've even already procrastinated on your college applications and you're wondering, oh my goodness, does the fact that I'm turning this in 1 day or 2 hours before the end of my deadline impact my college admissions chances at all? If you are worried about that, I'm going to address that issue, the issue of procrastination in your college applications in this video. Before we get into this though, I want to remind everybody who still has time to prep for the SAT or the ACT that we have the best SAT prep course ever and the best ACT prep course ever now available at SupertutorTV.com. Each has over 100 hours of video content that basically covers every in and out of the SAT and the ACT. So if you're trying to get the most awesome score possible, I recommend that you check it out. Subscribe to our channel here at YouTube. All you have to do is click subscribe. It doesn't cost you a thing. You can also subscribe for free to our mailing list, SupertutorTV.com/subscribe. We will tell you about new videos that we've got in the pipeline. We'll tell you about new products that we have coming out, any sales that we have going on any of our products, all that kind of fun stuff. So keep in the loop. And let's talk procrastination. This week, I've had some of my students that I'm working with on college essays and things like that come to me freaked out that, oh my goodness, Harvard said I should have sent in my application by December 15th. Oh no. And they're freaking out because even though the deadline for schools like Harvard and Princeton is like January 1st for regular decision, they read somewhere online that these schools wanted them to send it in by December 15th. And that sounded really scary. But I'm here to tell you, if you're freaking out because there was a suggestion on some college's website about they like to have applications in early, chances are, now this isn't for every college, and I'm going to go through sort of some exceptions and things in this video, chances are for most colleges you're probably fine. For most colleges, a deadline is a deadline, and they start reviewing the applications kind of after they've organized a lot of the stuff. And then they put together their piles and they start to go through it. This obviously isn't the way that every college and university in the world works, so I can't speak to that kind of statistical information, but from what I know from looking at feedback from college counselors and from what I know from what it says on the World Wide Web, I would say for the most part, it doesn't matter if you turn in your application 10 days before the deadline or the day before the deadline. Your application is fully considered if you get in by the deadline for most undergraduate universities in the United States. I just want to comment quickly on Harvard specifically. If you're worried about that, they do say on the website, on Harvard's website, that if you are too busy, essentially, if you have commitments that preclude submission of your application materials by December 15th, you know what that means? It means you're busy. It's really fancy talk for if you're really busy, please be assured that you will not be penalized in any way. Meaning, if you turn in your application by Jan 1st for Harvard, you are still okay and you're not going to be penalized. So don't worry too much, especially if you've already procrastinated and you've already missed the deadline. The worst thing you can do is worry about something you can't change. That being said, there are some colleges that it does matter when you submit your application, and submitting earlier actually can give you a better shot at admissions. And so I'm going to go through some of those exceptions right about now. First big exception is rolling admissions. There is one kind of university that the earlier you apply, the better off you are. That doesn't mean it's too late for these schools yet, at least when we're releasing this video. I don't know when you're watching this video though. It could be right up on their deadline, you never know. And those schools have rolling admissions, and that means that they accept students on the go. So they get a flood of applications in over time, and as they get those applications in, they send responses back as quickly as they can. They call that rolling admissions. So if you apply, like for instance, I had a student that I was working with and she applied to Indiana University early like October, and then she's already found out that she got in. Isn't that wonderful? It's a really wonderful thing to know that you got into a college. She already knows. But if you want to apply to Indiana University and let's say their deadline isn't until after Jan 1st, don't wait past January 1st. Because a lot of college deadlines are around January 1st. That means they're going to get a lot of applications probably around that date. So it's a good idea to get your application in. Same with schools like Arizona State, Michigan, Penn State, Texas A&M, and there are more rolling admissions colleges as well. You can look those up on the internet, or you can look through your own colleges that you're applying to and see what their admissions policies are. But if you have any with that rolling admissions policy, you might want to get on it and get that application in, because the earlier the better with some of those. The second thing that I'm going to point out is that it does matter if you apply early or not, if you're applying to scholarships or honors programs. Oftentimes, there are only so many scholarships that a school has to offer, and they're going to hand them all out as they see people who are fit. And if they're all gone, they're all gone. Oftentimes, with scholarships and honors programs, they'll have a priority deadline of some sort. And again, that's an earlier deadline. And usually, as long as you're in by that earlier deadline, you're usually okay. And every school is going to be different, and they're going to have literature and information on their websites, each individual school, that's going to tell you what their policies are in general. And if you ever have any questions, you can always reach out and send an email to their admissions office and ask, hey, does this matter, right? So if you're ever freaking out about anything, remember you can always send an email, but don't send the email if it's something you can Google, like just look it up on the internet first. And finally, one other thing that some schools have is they'll have earlier deadlines for particular programs. For example, if you're applying to an art program or an architecture program or the music school or the ballet academy within a bigger university, you may have to audition. You might have to set up those auditions. You might have to send a portfolio by a certain date. There might be other deadlines that you're required to submit by that you just need to be aware of. But again, as long as you make it by the deadline for whatever that deadline is, for the most part, you're usually fine. And again, the other exception comes in those kind of special programs is sometimes they only have so many slots for auditions or so many slots for consideration for those programs. And if you're in a situation like that, then definitely you want to get on the ball and you want to be early, or you might completely miss out on your chances if they only have a limited number of slots. And then finally, which is also an extension of that idea, if you want to get a college interview, sometimes getting a college interview means that you have to have turned in your application at a time when there were still interview slots available. So there is some availability issue with things like that, but a lot of times like interviews aren't the most important part of your application because they know that not everybody gets an interview. So, you know, you have to weigh what you can weigh and do what you can do, but don't beat yourself up if you've procrastinated. Just move forward and move as fast as you can. There are a few other reasons why turning things in early is good, and I'll go through those really quickly. One is that you make sure that all of your materials get received. So in case there's any flub or any problem, you can correct it and you still have time to correct it. So let's say you thought you went online and you thought you sent your scores to some university, but you typed in the form code wrong and you've sent it to the wrong university. Well, you can correct that error if you did it early enough. And if you didn't do it early enough, then you're not going to be able to correct it. But obviously, for the most part, as long as you're really careful about all the steps that you do as you turn things in and you do it the right way, you'll probably be okay. The other thing that I will say is that sometimes when you procrastinate, you tend to make more mistakes in your application, but that's also something that at least you can still do something about. So if you're somebody who's procrastinated and you're sitting here worried, oh my goodness, I procrastinated, is this going to totally crush my college dreams? What I will say is just take some precaution. Make sure you have at least one other human being read your complete application before you turn it in. When I say complete application, one of the biggest mistakes that I see students make, especially when they're procrastinating, is that they don't have anyone proofread their activities section. They have somebody proofread all their essays, but they don't proofread the little blurbs under the activities. And there might be typos. There might be things that should be capitalized that aren't. You might have like really crazy formatting and it's not very even. So make sure that everything looks good, that it's clean, but find one other human being to read your essay. And that's usually just a good tip. I hope you guys like this video. If you want to procrastinate some more, we have a lot of other videos here on SupertutorTV. If you're writing your college essays, we've got lots of college essay videos. You can go to our front page and we have a whole playlist, I believe, of college tips. So go check that out. If you're prepping for the ACT or SAT again, head over to SupertutorTV.com and see what we've got going on. We've got a lot of stuff for you guys and we'd love to help you out. I will see you guys later. Take care. Bye-bye.